These are on. Good afternoon. Hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. Welcome to the 37th CALLERLAB Convention here in Niagara Falls, and the name of this session is called Different But Not Difficult. And my name is Ken Ritucci. I'll be your moderator, and I'll wait till she comes in so I can properly introduce her and properly pronounce her name. We do have some handouts here. How you doing? Right up front, we're getting rather low. This looks to be a popular session. That's great. And the way I envision this session is Jeannette's going to start with some of her handout material. I'll add some comments more from like a 30,000 view, and then at this point, when I talk about choreography, I like to envision it being like a round table discussion, because as I look across the room here, I see years and years of experience and some newer callers, and so everybody can add to this. When it comes to choreography, there's very few people that I would consider know all the answers. I certainly don't know all the answers, and like any caller, I'm always learning. But now that you're here, I'm going to introduce you from Switzerland. How about a nice hand for Jeannette Staeuble?
Thank you. Thanks, Ken. I would like to start off with the thing that if we want to make it different but not difficult, we need to know what difficult is, how we make choreography more or less difficult. So, and one of the things, actually, John Staeuble and Bill Peters identified, not sure whether everybody knows that, there are 10 factors in square dance which make square dance choreography difficult. Yeah. First one is rather obvious. If dancer doesn't know a call, if you use a call like roll in a mainstream program or whatever, it's difficult for the dancer. Okay, if you use chain reaction, they don't have a chance at all, but if a dancer doesn't know the call, it's difficult. If we use calls which are not often used, it's difficult. Using left squares through that, this depends on the area where you are. But I think in your area you always know calls which are often used and calls which are seldom used. As Fan the Top was in the mainstream program, this was a call which all over the world was seldom used. So it's difficult for the dancers. If you use calls out from unfamiliar formations, it can be difficult for the dancers. An example would be if you use scoot back from a quarter tag, or we do a wheel around from lines facing out. This is just not often used formations. Same thing goes for arrangements. If an arrangement is not often used at a call, it's becoming difficult. Using Dixie style, with the boys going in the lead, I think a lot of not so well-known dancers, although my dancers might have problems with it. This has nothing to do with Europe or America. It's just, if it's not often used, it's difficult. And other things like if dancers have to remember too much, if you stack calls, if you add calls too fast, it becomes difficult for the dancers. If you make it complicated, like if they have to keep track of too much, like you have in lines, flutter wheel, then the centers of a line, in-facing line, flutter wheel, and the lines again, makes it difficult for the dancers. If you work against their anticipation, it's difficult. Like forward, up, and back, you wheel, pass through, wheel, and deal, wheel around. Or we use much more pass through, wheel, and deal than we use from lines, pass through, wheel around. This makes it difficult for the dancer. Lack of smoothness. Dancers most often don't see that it's lack of smoothness. They just think the caller is difficult. You call bad body flow, the dancers think you're a difficult caller. And if you work against the dancer's sense of what is right, it also makes it a little difficult. You maybe had the experience if you have dancers in the boy, girl, girl, boy line. You know, for one couple it's normal, right? the left-sided couple in that moment, they're normal couples. The other side, they have sashayed. And if you have not so sure dancers, they want to switch around because they see the other side they're looking at. They are normal. Okay? So this makes it difficult for the dancers. And if you're adding all of these factors, this makes it difficult too. Sure, if you there's all these things to know when you plan your choreography. To know this is difficult. I personally try to group dancers in 3 groups. Oh, yeah, how you say this in English, right way. But to put dancers in 3 groups.
3 groups.
3 groups. Okay, one group is the dancers who do not need our help at all. These are the ones, they dance challenge, whatever, 5B or whatever level exists now. Or they're just very, very sharp dancers. You can call them everything. You can call them even bad body flow. They can handle it. Then on the other side, it's the so-called, I call it left foot Charlie, or we call it Aunt Emma, Tante Emma. It's the other side, the dancer who does not survive, even if we try to help. You can call them just normal lines, right and left through, and they already mess it up. It just happens. And there's a third group of dancers. They survive with our help, so we can help them. And the hints or the ideas I give you now is actually for that third group. How can we help the dancers to go through a little variety, but still make it so that the dancers can handle it? One of the things, I think everybody of us every once in a while calls a whole tip through the whole pedal through, whole record through, without ever resolving. Happens every once in a while, but we take the dancers away something, right? It's like the carrot. You call this carrot? You know,
a carrot.
Carrot, yeah, in front of a horse.
Yeah, tangle a
you
carrot,
know,
yes.
And you run away this carrot and try to catch it, and you never get it because you never get as a dance an element left or right and left grand, just a resolution. And it also makes it's just a nice way of helping the dancers to resolve often. Same way goes that you have in one sequence just one idea. I mean, if you plan on using left-handed scoot back, and say in left-handed scoot back, in a walk and dodge, in a wheel around, which is perfect body flow, works. You maybe should not put that together in one sequence, but build it up slowly. Also work from easy to difficult, one of the things. Don't start with the left-handed scoot back from quarter tag. If you want this is your subject, your theme, right? Start easy and work your way up. Another help is if you do something unusual, give them more lead time. If you call center square through 3 out of a double pass through, and you don't want element left, you want something else, like a left swing through or left touch a quarter. Say this earlier, a little earlier than they need it, so they get ready. You can even help them with helper words, you know, not just use your left hand. Get your left hand ready. Left touch a quarter, left swing through, whatever. This helps dancers. It's just important. The other thing is if you always use helper words, it might become like cueing things. It should not be. I mean, I hear callers using spin chain through and always say turn half by the right because right away 3/4 and so on. If you do that all the time when you come in my club, I'm not using it. You might get in trouble. Same other thing, like I always like to mention is there a call called left scoot back? No? Just scoot back. Right, it's just scoot back. Lot of callers. Some callers use left scoot back. If they come to my club, they might be in trouble because it's scoot back. Left, it's the inside hand you are using when you go forward. So there's no call such a left. But you can say, scoot back, use your left hand. You can help them, but don't help them wrong. That's the bottom point I try to make.
Don't help them wrong.
My English is Swiss, right? So
you're doing
please.
Great. Mine's worse.
Thanks. All right. And other things is we can help dancers because if we work with the dancer's sense of what's right, we can help the dancers, right? So if we end normal, we we can help the dancers this way. Like if you do a recycle from a left-handed wave, and you have the girls at the end. Can you follow me that? Okay. If the girls at the end, you do recycle, it ends normal. I think I can call that everywhere because of it ends normal. I would never ever call just from a left-handed wave with the boys at the end a recycle without preparing it first, But calling it from the girls at the end, it works because they are normal. If somebody messes up, they switch to a normal position and the problem is solved. That's a way of helping it. Also, one other thing which helps, so especially if you want to we want to get the people to dance all positions in a flutter wheel, all positions in a partner trade. So a way to help them is if you use boy-boy, girl-girl situations. Because if you have two boys together doing a partner trade, for the left-sided boy, it's just normal. Like he's always done it before the last 100, 200 times, whatever. For the right-sided boy, okay, he is a bit in trouble. But the other one helps him. So it works. Same thing for the girls. For the right-sided girl, partner trade, it's easy because she's done it all the time. The other side, okay, but they help them. So this could be a way of introducing other positions of the call with other arrangements, so making it for the dancers easy to learn it. And later on, you can go on and do it in half sachet. There's no problem because they know both positions. They can handle it. If you from beginning doing it from half sachet, you normally get into trouble because if you have two dancers which aren't so sure, they switch places and they end up in a normal position rather than in the half sachet position where they should be. So this is a way of helping them. Another thing, I think Paul Bristow used the word of encouraging body flow, meaning body flow to help the dancers. You can do a Dixie style to an ocean wave without any flow. It's absolutely legal, no problem doing it, but it's much easier to be done if you do a right and left through first, because it leads the right-sided dancer, the girl, into a Dixie style. Same thing goes if you have, for instance, a left-handed two-faced line. Right? Left-handed two-faced line girl, the center's holding left hands, and you do a bender line. You bend it in, so the right-sided dancer is in a kind of a lead. So this could be also a way of helping the dancers through unfamiliar Dixie style or flutter wheels. We start with flutter wheel, it's easier, right? You can help the dancers with body flow. So one of the examples is using two-faced lines. If you use a right-handed two-faced line, you can do reverse flutter wheel. Yeah, you're right. The other thing would be very bad flow. But for right-handed two-faced line, you can start off going in the reverse stuff. And you can help dancers going through this material. Other ideas is like you have lines pass through, wheel and deal, centers wheel around. They actually can't go wrong on that because the flow just works out. I mean, we can maybe later on, if you want, we can look at them with dancers. Small space
we'll
here,
make room.
actually, but we can find a way to look at this. But this is ways how we can help the dancers. And I think this is one of the way of giving them variety, but really controlling the difficulty and keeping it always on the level that the dancers can handle it. Because if you don't do that, I think we fail, in my opinion, we fail as callers. Okay, I told you I'm fast.
That was fast. Okay, very nice. Well, Jeannette gave you some ideas about what makes calling difficult. And as I look around the room, I don't know everybody here, but I know many of you. And some of you have a wealth of information, and I hope you helped share some of it. Some of you have done presentations like this through the years at CALLERLAB, so it's sort of nice to see in the audience. I'm taking a little different approach as well. On my handout that I have here, one of the things was understanding your own capabilities. I think sometimes when we try to do different or difficult choreography, we sometimes maybe underestimate ourselves, or maybe we overestimate ourselves. And I don't believe choreography is a standoff. It's not a one-off thing in our calling. I think it's part of our calling, and it's professional judgment as well. So when I go to a dance, I will try to mix it up as much as I can to make it interesting, but yet not too difficult, because if you're too difficult, the floor is going to break down. They're not going to dance, and ultimately it's really not a win-win situation. My Roman numeral 2, how far do I go? If you're calling for your own group, you know probably how far you can go. You call for them on a regular basis. You know what they can do, what they can't do, or maybe you know what you want to do and come on in, there's room, and what you might want them to do. But you're going to have to work it, okay? All of this takes time. If you want to start coming out of your safety net with choreography and you're not quite sure the end result, I would suggest that you use your checkers, or if you've got an online choreography program, and you start working it. No matter how experienced you are, I'm still challenging myself with different programs, and I make sure that I write and I play with the checkers because I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. What is different and what is difficult? If I call for one of my groups in New England or New York, just a regular half sashayed relay to Ducey might be difficult. And then if I call for some of the gay groups that learn all the different positions, they eat that up. They don't see a difference. So I guess it's just more subjective than objective. What is difficult? What is different? Understanding the difference, and there's where we get into faults sometimes. How many times have we gone to maybe to a dance and you've danced to a caller who's trying to accomplish something and it doesn't quite work? Maybe they haven't done their homework enough, or as callers, we dance on the floor, and what are we always doing? We're always observing what they're calling and what we would have done different, or try to anticipate what they're going to call, and that's not a good thing because we tell our dancers not to anticipate, so we shouldn't do it. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? Difficult and different choreography is also a part of showmanship. It's also part of programming. It's theming. If you want to theme a tip on left-handed maneuvers, or if you want to you want to theme a tip on fan to tops from different formations or arrangements, you really should do your homework first, unless, of course, you've been doing it long enough and you can just do it off the fly. But you should have a game plan involved. If you're going to come, and all this really deals with coming out of our safety zone. Let's face it, we all get in ruts. We all have our favorite calls. We all call things that we're so used to. What did John Jones once said? He spoke to a caller or a dancer, and they said, well, and where we come from, if you don't do boys run after a swing through, then it's not a swing through or something. Something crazy like that. So think about the habits that we all have and that we get ourselves into. And it's our comfort zone. We all do it. I do it. You call for your regular dancers. You call the normal things that you're familiar with or you're comfortable with. But I encourage all of you and I challenge all of you to go home and start thinking out of the box a little bit. But then again, there's a fine line you walk. Sure, you can't start going crazy with this stuff, because if your dancers can't do it, then really what good is it to you, okay? You want a win-win situation. Knowing your basics, understanding the calls that are on the programs, steering the ship through rough waters. Jeannette spoke about helper words. If you dance to some of the best callers in the world, some of the most difficult material won't even seem difficult because they can help you get through these spots without making it sound like, the ship's sinking, and if you don't do this and you don't do this, you're not going to make it. You just all of a sudden, you're there. You're home. How did I get there? Well, because the professional steered you through. Success depends on teamwork. All the greatest choreography in the world is not going to make a difference if the dancers can't dance it. So we need both. You can't do it without them. And you have to understand their capabilities. I had wrote something on the back of mine. It says, we don't need to teach a call from another program to make our calling different. There's plenty to work on with the first 50 basics or the mainstream program. And how often do we use these calls? Wheel around, other than don't stop, don't slow down, heads wheel around, cross folds and cross runs. That tells me a lot about a dance floor when I call cross runs and cross folds. Lots of times they can't do it. They don't understand the word cross. They don't know where to go, and that's from the centers to the outside. Try calling cross runs and cross folds from the ends into the center. That's almost like, the outer limits. Split circulates. working centers and ends separately. Ends do this, centers do that. And I found the success is sometimes if you want to start splitting ends and centers, I try to keep the same sexes together. Like I'll have boys in the middle and then I'll put girls on the end or vice versa. So that way they see the same sexes together. So in their mind, it's a little bit easier to grasp. And then if you feel that they've accomplished these things, then you can move on. Working fractions, all types of fractions. I gave an example of do-si-do, once and a half. I know Randy's in the room. To me, Randy's an expert in working fractions. He loves to work fractions, all types of calls and fractions. And, you know, he does it, and it really challenges the dancers. But he does it in a way that you get through it because, he can steer the ship through the muddy waters. Left-handed movements. How many feel they don't use enough left-handed movements? Everybody uses left-handed all the time. Your clubs can do it without any problem. No, that's good if they can. But left-handeds can always give problems as well. Do your part. You know, this could be something a little bit fun. Do your part. Boys do your part of this. Girls do your part of that. And if you explain it and they can see it and they're in a way where if you say the girls are facing out side by side, girls do your part of a chase right, well, they know what to do. And then the boys do your part of a pass the ocean or something. So as long as you've lined it up for success, and all of this depends on success. If they're not successful, your choreography is not going to work. I wrote, ultimately, the success of our dance programs depends on how much we work with our dancers and give them all the chance to be successful. Remember, I've said it, if they're not successful, you're not. And realizing that different, not difficult, can be showmanship. I believe choreography is showmanship. Doing these kinds of things is a form of showmanship. It's not jumping out there saying, hey, look at my choreography. Isn't this really great? But it's subtle things that you can do. Too different or too difficult. Well, we can get really off the wall. If you start getting off the wall, what's going to happen? They're going to break down. If you don't do your homework and you think you're going to go up there and wing it, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up falling down. A deal breaker. I think different and difficult is an exciting aspect to our choreography and our calling, but it could be a deal breaker. I mean, you could basically ruin a whole night if you decide to call too much of this stuff in one night. Maybe you just do a tip. Maybe you do half a tip, depending on where you're calling. I would think that how many, when you guest call, the first tip is sort of one of those little trial balloons that you send up there. And one of the best trial balloons I do is I say, bow to the partner, corner two, circle left, do passo. Normally half the floor breaks down. You know, maybe because we're not doing enough do passos now. I don't know what it is. But I look right away, partner, and I say partner left. And they start running to their corner. I don't know why, but they do. Professional judgment should always be upheld. Whenever you're going to want to start thinking out of the box or start moving your choreography in a different direction, you have to use professional judgment. Now, most of you are saying, well, of course, I know that. But we say we know it, but then sometimes, how many times have you danced to a caller who is just, they're lost? I think Jeannette said it once through the whole record and they haven't resolved. Well, there's an issue with that, We have to give them that carrot, and you have to have short resolutions, okay? You have to make the dancers feel like they're successful, but it doesn't mean that you can't be different with your choreography. I've had comments from dancers sometimes for certain callers in the area. They'll say, well, I don't like the dance of that caller because she doesn't do the regular stuff. It's always something different, and it's difficult. I can't do it. Reason why they can't do it is because they probably just haven't been exposed to it. How many actually consciously think of their choreography and sometimes think that you're in a rut, that you want something different, or you think, I'm not happy with my calling, or maybe I'm doing the same thing. Maybe I call too many up to the middles and backs or something. Anyone ever feel that way? No one? I do. A good example is to tape yourself. No matter how many years you've been calling, tape a dance and go home and listen to it. And listen to how many times you said right and left through, or bend the line, or up to the middle and back, or you called 6 relay the deuces and half a tip or something. I mean, these are things that we can catch ourselves on and then say, what's wrong with my choreography? Or what's going wrong with my choreography? When I do a head square through 4, where am I at that point? What do we call that? A 0 box. Everyone's looking at their corner. Well, what can you call from the 0 box that's not going to just be a swing through boys run? There's probably 20 or 30 things we can come up with if we brainstormed in this room. And out of those 20 or 30 things, how many are we using? Probably 5, 6. Yes?
Just an idea I give my college students is when you work at home, nobody says you're not allowed to have a mainstream list beside your side when you do choreography. So one of the things is you can really go through the list and see what you can do otherwise. So this is a way of improving your calling. You use the mainstream list as a helping guide at home for preparation.
And just my example here, wheel around. I mean, heads pass through, wheel around. I know it's some of my groups or some groups are doing that's going to kill them because they won't get it. They won't get it because they don't get it, meaning they don't get it called to them. Yeah, call it from in-facing lines, John just said. That'd be call wheel and deal from facing lines. Split circulates. Go ahead.
Just say one of these is pass through wheel around. When you say heads pass through wheel around, not much can go wrong. They maybe go the wrong way, they maybe do a California twirl, whatever they do. But at the end, they will end up where they were, where they should be, say it this way, where they should be. So, I do it in my hometown too. Normally, the first time I'll do it, some of my dancers go the wrong way. And second time or third time, it's good. And then I emphasized wheel around, and then I can go on to different formations, like lines pass a wheel around. And later on, I might even do it from in-facing lines. Might. Maybe not.
Depending on your group. But like I said when we opened, I really believe, and I've been through many of these sessions, with choreography, it's subjective. And I'd like to hear some ideas from out there. I know we got a wealth of information out there. I know callers been calling 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And I'd like you to add some to the good of the group, because this is being taped, and I think this would be a great tape to have with just more than Jeannette and myself. We'll get a score up, and we'll show you some examples of things. But, again, if we do that, we'd like you to go home and try to use some of this stuff, or go home with a different attitude and say, okay, well, maybe my dancers would have trouble with such and such, but if I work it, they won't. The more you call it, the more comfortable they'll feel. And also, the more comfortable you'll feel calling this stuff, not just them. And you'll have more confidence when you want to get up there and start calling out of the box type choreography. It should be different, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Who would like to share something with us out here? John, will you handle the mic? Yep, right here. We got a hand in the back. Make sure you state your name, where
you're from. Butch Adams from Alexandria, Virginia. One of the things I found years ago that really helped me to make sure that I gave the dancers every move that was on the list of the particular level of the dance I was calling. So if I was calling a mainstream dance, I wanted to make sure that I called every move that was on the mainstream list. Well, one of the old ways, of course, was you had a piece of paper in front of you and you checked it off. But I found that to be difficult. So then I put all the moves on 3x5 cards. And I would rotate them just like a deck of cards. I'd shuffle them up and lay them there, and as I called each move, I'd flip over the card. And as I got through it once, I just turned the deck all over again. And that made me not only call every move that was on the list, but as the card flipped up, wherever I was on calling, it made me use that move from whatever position I was in. Then I graduated from that into putting it on a computer and put it into a little chip that I put into one of the little picture frames that you buy where it rotates through all the pictures. if you put that on your desk. Well, I've got them now where I have that little unit, and I sit it on my desk, and it just is constantly rotating through every one of those moves. And I just glance down at it, call in the dance, and whatever one comes up, I force myself to use it. And it really makes you think, and you're not doing fancy stuff. It's just that you're observing the floor, and here comes that move, and you think, what do I have to put them in to be able to use that move? And it doesn't have to be tricky stuff. Because a lot of dancers, if you call something different, that's tricky to them because you've never called it before. They go off and dance to another caller, and he calls it, they break down because they're not used to having it called from any other way from the way you call it. And when the last thing is, when I work my figures at home, I used to use little checkers. I used to use all kinds of little things, but I found now I use Dixie cups. And the reason I use the Dixie cup is I can put my hand on the Dixie cup and I can feel the flow of the dancers as I'm turning them. So as I hold the Dixie cup, and they're cheap because I can stack them together. I used to have chess pieces. They were more expensive. And I have a group called Dixie Cup Dancers. And I told them, I said, when Dixie Cup makes a mistake, when I'm working at home, I squash the Dixie Cup and I throw it in the trash and I get another dancer. So now they came out with their Dixie Cups on their head with a string around their neck. And if they make a mistake, they crush the Dixie Cup and they have to go sit down. But if you have some kind of flow as you're writing your material and you're turning these Dixie cups, you start to see the flow of the dancers. And I have a lot of fun with it.
Thank you. You need actually to show me later. As a Swiss, I don't know what Dixie cups are. You need to talk to me about that in the break, right? Plastic cups. Let me just add on one thing first. Maybe I'm not sure how many callers here do we only have experienced callers here? Because as a newer caller, I would do this game you did, but I would do it at home first. To get used to the calls. In a way, another thing or another game you can do for yourself is you have the mainstream list. You try to call a kind of dry calling, backwards the list. The last call on the list is recycle. So we have a squared set. How we can go in a formation arrangement, maybe for formation. We just talk formation first. To do recycle. Okay, heads past the ocean. Recycle. Next call, as I just remember, could be the hinge family. So how can do single hinge? Send us pass through, swing through, or whatever. Kind of work yourself. Always try to call the next call on the list backwards and go up to maybe to square through. You don't have to go to circle left. But just as an idea, to work that at home. Because the difficult thing is if you work with cards. I like working with cards too. And you can also put arrangements in the cards. I mean, this is a game we do at the caller schools. We have cards where you have a boy, boy, girl, girl line, or boy, boy, girl, girl, ocean wave. And you have to get into, and when you finish that, the coaches flip the next card. You can also work with that, but if you're not so familiar, it's a good thing to start at home. With practicing that you still are in good body flow and a good timing and all the stuff. But I like the idea with the cards. Sorry.
Dixie cups, yeah. Randy Doherty, Mesa, Arizona, and Far, Texas now. We were talking about wheel around, and I have a neat little get out that I use after I've been theming it. It's from an inverted line. And I always set it up where I know the heads are sashayed and then head square through 4 set up. So that's my setup. And I have the heads put centers in between the sides, cast off 3/4, so you have an inverted line. And you have the centers looking in and the ends looking out. And you can help them, like what Jeannette was saying the center girl wheel the center boy around. Every boy wheel a new girl around. Everybody half sashay and everybody swing your original. And it's a neat little get out. Of course, you have to say swing your original rather quickly or they will be swinging their corner.
Again, different. I think Ed Foote had his hand up. Different but not difficult.
I've always felt that there's 2 parts to choreography, the actual material and the presentation techniques. Each are 50%. You can have the greatest choreography in the world. If you do not have the presentation techniques, your grade is 50, and we know that 50% in schools are failing grade. So the key to all of this is presentation technique. If I just called circle left do passo, they're going to die. But if I said circle left face your partner do passo, It's a nothing. They'll all do it. In fact, I use do passo from facing lines. You know, oh, how do you do that? It's the presentation technique. I get them in normal facing lines. I tell everybody, look down on the floor. Remember this footprint. That's where you're going to finish. Now face your partner, do passo. And they start going, and as their courtesy turning at the end, I say, and finish in this footprint I told you to remember. They're right there. They don't break down at all. Then I'll call a right and left through, pass through, partner trade. They're back to the same place. Now I call it again. And now they've done do passo from facing lines, which nobody calls, and they've been 100% successful. And a third example for presentation technique, from a squared set, if you have the heads touch a quarter, if you can visualize that, it means the head girl is facing the side girl. And my little creative choreography is I want those two girls to pass through. Now, if I just said girls pass through, they wouldn't do it. They would say, nobody has ever called that before. So I don't believe he said that, and therefore I will play it safe and I will not do it. And then I will be safe. So I have to convince the dancers I mean what I say. So I say, girls, you're facing, correct? Girls pass through, and now they'll do it. It's no problem at all. It's the presentation technique.
Yeah, it's the helper words where he said girls facing pass through. So they all of a sudden oh yeah, we are facing. More hands, more ideas out there. Or problems you might be having with your choreography or your programs. Right? There you go, Doug.
Just to add a comment to Ed there with the facing girls. Doug Holmes from Queensville in Ontario in Canada. My little helper for that is 4 girls pass through when you get them in that heads touch a quarter and you know that the 2 girls are facing and 2 are facing over here. So if I say 4 girls pass through, because the first time I tried it, I just said girls pass through. Well, the inside girl wanted to walk out, but the outside girl didn't want to walk in. So
4 girls.
That's the way I got through it. 4 girls pass through.
Or girls, or all girls. Another thing I like to do sometimes, it's not difficult, but it's a little bit different, is calling swing through from a left-handed wave or a left swing through from a right-handed wave. But again, you can't just call that cold turkey. I'll usually say something like centers begin, if it's a left-handed wave, centers begin, swing through, and I'll say half by the right, then half left. But, I mean, those are the kind of words you might want to give. It's not fair to the dancer just to get them into a left-handed wave and say swing through. Because what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do a left swing through. Now, again, that's not going so far out that, that they can't make it, but you have to help them through these waters. Anything you do, I totally agree with that. It's presentation, how you present this stuff. No matter how good it is to you, if you can't get the point across and they can't do it, then it's not going to matter. More questions, more comments. We got a lot of experience right here.
Ron Brown, Cicero, New York. I was doing what I would call a festival one time, and I had called, and then I was taking a break, and I was in the back. Another caller got up. The other caller has been calling for 40-plus years. Smooth. He can make the most difficult appear to be the most easy. And one fellow was in the back, and I said, "Why aren't you dancing?" He said, "I don't like him. He's too easy." Now, I could get up. They're very successful. So I could get up and present the exact same choreography, and they would break down, and they'd say, "Yeah, Ron's a great caller." But the guy that really did the job did it right, and they all got through it. What's wrong with that?
I think it's a problem. Lots of us callers who try to help the dancers through it. We have that we every once in a while they think we are too easy. What I started doing, that's just in my home club now, with people I know. That's the important thing is, every once in a while, normally you would call heads right and left through, lead left, right? It's perfect flow. They dance it without problems. Now at my plus club, we're talking about, I call heads lead left, and they somehow like it because it's for them more difficult because they have to make their own decision how the flow goes. And I also believe very much in educating the dancers the difference between between good and bad body flow, because all of that what you said, because a dancer needs to know if a caller is just difficult because of bad flow. If a call is difficult because he calls too, he should distinguish and should recognize and like also good flow. And I think we can, as teachers at home, we can work with that. In the class, later on in the class, I show them what bad body flow is. So they know a right and left through reverse flutter wheel doesn't go good. And why it's not? It's bad flow. It's not difficult, it's bad flow. And I try to make the point because I think we owe it to our dancers that they know. And then, because I also dislike if it happens that a caller who calls smooth, calls good choreography, is considered as too easy in a negative way, And I think this might be ways we can help.
Right there. Jerry?
I'll try one. Jerry Carmen from Spencerport, New York. Following Ron's line over here, I was at a dance years ago, and they were two callers were vying to be the club caller. So they had them calling the same evening, and one caller broke the floor down persistently. The other caller, everybody made it. And for some reason, some dancers seem to have the perception that the caller that can break the floor down is the better caller. So that caller that broke the floor down is the one that got hired.
well, next time another mistake was made.
Next time you're vying for a club, break them down. Right?
Yeah. John Kaltenthaler from Pocono Pines. How many of you who have ever found the dancers promenading out of sequence and didn't know what to call to get them back into sequence very easily without a wheel around or something of that nature? You ever think of the word zoom? Starting with the heads, do a zoom. It changes the sequence. Not difficult, but certainly different. Yeah, well, but the point being, and then you have to do a little quick workshop on the zoom and say, well, the person in front is going to roll back one and so forth. If you're starting with the heads, it still works. But it's different, not difficult.
Walking again in the back. Yep. Oh, okay. Tom?
I just wanted to make, I'm Tom Sender from Maryland. This wasn't me, it was a caller. I actually think I heard it at CALLERLAB many years ago. And the caller said he was calling a pretty good program, and man, these people could dance. They were doing everything, but they were dissatisfied because they were doing everything. So he just cleared his throat, and they broke down. Oh, sorry, I won't call that again. And then after that, they were fine the rest of the night. So sometimes you do have to break the dancers down and show them that you do call difficult. But you don't want to do it all night. You just want to, you got to get that challenge. There's always that thing you're riding, Am I interesting? But, I'm not breaking you down, but I'm still interesting. You have to point it out to them a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know about making sure you break them down, but yeah, there was a question there. Ed.
Ed Foote again, Pennsylvania. Along that same line, a few years ago, I was dancing to a very experienced caller that knows everything. Knows body flow and all. I'm at a plus dance. The caller is calling, quote, a picture-perfect dance. Everything flows really smooth. And by the fourth or fifth tip, I'm crying out in my mind, give me something awkward just to break this thing up. Give me a bend the line or an up to the anything. But it just kept going and going, and it was like it was too much. And yet, technically, it was perfect all the way through.
Yeah, well, that's, we got to be careful of overflow, especially in particular dancers. Boys run, couples circulate, couples trade, Ferris wheel, sweep a quarter. You're drilling them into the ground, and there's, you do need to break it up. Just something I wrote, heads lead left, left touch a quarter, walk and dodge, the actions to the left. And for better dancer success, I would say left chase, but some callers might say chase, and they're going to say left. Where do you think they're going to start going? Right. See, there's an example that you're not giving them the proper words, the helper words to help them out. So if you're going to do left-handed action into a left walk and dodge where the outfacer is dodging to the left, I would say left chase before I said chase left because they're so programmed to go to the right. They'll cut over to the right. And you'll break it down. Yes, right behind you. Butch?
Butch Adams again from Alexandria, Virginia. I don't remember where the paper came from, but I remember 3 or 4 years ago there was a paper put out. It was floating around from the AMA, and it was written by a couple of chiropractors and doctors and orthopedic people who had seen a lot of square dancers. And they said, we could spot trends where the man's hip on the right side and the lady's hip on the left side showed more wear, because they knew these people were dancers. And when you watch dancers dancing and you watch somebody calling very straight flow, you're going to find the gentlemen are normally circling to the right and the ladies are circling to the left. And sometimes all you have to do to break up the flow of a dance is to do some left-handed stuff to where they're going to the left. And you don't have to break them down, but it really makes them stop a minute and think, and then go back and start calling the right-handed stuff again. And to them, that was exciting, and yet to you, you didn't do anything different except change their body flow the way they were moving.
Who is
That's your tape recorder, Dina.
Oh. You just confused. And to add something to this, it's the term I heard or I learned some time ago is called sequential overflow. I mean, all those people who try to call good flow can be quickly guilty, and I was guilty for about at least 10, maybe 15 years on that. If you, like for instance, we head square through, easy, no problem, right? Touch a quarter, now follow the head boy in your mind. Touch a quarter, no problem, right? Scoot back, no problem, right? Boys run, still no problem. Pass the ocean, still no. The flow itself is perfect, right? But now recycle, veer left and Ferris wheel. Now we stop it. Okay, this was always going to the right. And I think if we're taping ourselves, like Ken said, it's a very good idea to find out if you then follow in your mind one of the dances. And easy things to break, at least I use right and left throughs, breaks this flow for the man. Like you said, use left-handed choreography. An idea when we always go to the right side, you can kind of make it a kind of a theme, or not a theme, but going left-sided couple circulate. Have left-handed two-phase lines. Work this way through. Use right and left throughs in your choreography. This helps also to break the flow in a good way. You break it in a good way. Or use swing throughs. All movements which kind of give eight, and figure eight movement helps to break it. But especially people who call good flow have to be very careful of that. I did it all the time, till I realized that this is a problem. Because always to the right, because it's good flow for itself, for the calls, but not good if you combine the 10 or 12 or 15 movements. But use left-handed choreography, use right and left throughs. Use center straights. All these things help.
Bruce Sempers, Ellicott City, Maryland. I was calling at a dance and I did it left spin the top twice. Now, of course, the first time 3 out of 4 squares broke down. I said, let's take it a little bit slower. I took it a little bit slower. All the squares got it.
Speed is.
They felt success.
I think Butch Adams had his hand up. Speed is of course, and timing. We talk about timing, not just flow. The command time, the lead time. How soon are we giving the next call? But if you need to use helper words, how soon are we giving those helper words? Before we give the call, that gives these dancers success.
Just to add on that, like if you want to use pass through wheel around, you have to say starting from lines, you have to say the wheel around really early. Then the dancers can handle it if they know the called wheel around. If you don't know the called wheel around, you have to start different. But also in my club, if I do pass through wheel around, I don't wait. If I do pass through wheel and deal, I may wait another beat before saying the wheel and deal. But on the wheel around, I'm faster. I give them more lead time to handle it. I can do center square through 3, and you don't want to do a left swing through. Give them more lead time. Then it helps. This is the timing, which is very, very important.
Yes. Butch?
Something else you can do, too. You can take a singing call routine. Just take a basic old singing call routine like head square through, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, square through 3/4, swing your corner, and promenade. Just a very basic singing call. But now, start it out and have the sides do a half sachet. And now, don't use the term boys and girls. Have the head square through 4, step to a wave, swing through, spin the top, step through, do a partner trade, square through 3/4, 1, 2, 3. You're all facing out. Partner trade, roll the face, swing the one you're with, and promenade home. You've never used the term boys and girls. You've still got that singing call routine memorized in your mind. You know what the routine was. But to the dancers, boy, did it feel different. Did they feel different having 2 boys and 2 girls in the wave? And yet everything you did had a nice flow to it, and it all worked. But it really made the dancer think.
Yeah, right there. Tom?
Going back to the concept of left, we don't have to do things necessarily like left swing through. We have a lot of calls that naturally have some left movement for the men. Heads pass through, separate, the man goes to the left. The double pass through, first couple go left, next couple go right, naturally to the left. We have veer left. So if you sprinkle those kind of calls through your choreography, it breaks up that right natural flow and it gives you a good balance.
Good point. More? This is good. It's good stuff out here. One thought I had on load the boat. If you want to work load the boat with your dancers as opposed to just boy girl line, and you want dancer success, what I've found with many groups is instead of quickly just half sashaying them going girl boy, I try to work same sexes again. Have the boys in the middle or the girls in the middle. Again, I have found that it's like an unwritten thing. There's a comfort zone there where they see all the boys in the middle. I may say boys in the middle, girls on the end, everybody load the boat. Well, they know the end parts and they know the center parts and keeping them together. And then at some point, once they get through that, I may half sashay them. But to jump from a normal 1-2, boy girl situation arrangement and just flip-flopping them, it sort of confuses them sometimes, depending on your floor. I'm talking about an average club. I'm not talking about a stronger floor. If you have a much stronger floor, they should be able to handle this with no problem. Yes.
Yeah, but that's actually the point. If you work on a floor you don't know, normally the half sashayed situation is most often the most difficult one from the arrangements. So if you start like in a load boat in a recycle. If you do a recycle, first you do a normal arrangement, surely with the boy right hand waves, boys at the end. Then I would do boy girl arrangement. So the boys have one boy who knows what he does, and the girls have one girl who knows what she does. And later on, go to the half sachet. Half sachet is most often the most difficult thing. So I think this is.
Does anyone have any other favorites? I'd like to get a square up on the floor and have us share some little nuggets that we have. Because this is being taped. I think we have room for a square. Can we get a volunteer square? Any ideas at all? Is that in the way? We're going to move that out? Okay, hold on. Here you go. Or even if you tried calling something, you couldn't see why it didn't work. Maybe an epiphany will come and you can see it here. We got half a square. Okay. You had a couple of things you wanted to show them, right?
I mean, I could show them some of the flow settings.
Yeah.
Go on, you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. Let me just see what's the flow is. You actually should, maybe can you move this a little backward here to me? Because then because you can't dance it with flow if it's not flow. Who helps? Okay, I don't have to bring you home after that, right? Good. And you bring them home. Okay, just heads past the ocean, whoever heads is. Okay. Extend. An idea like swing through. Boys run. If you want to do a reverse flutter wheel, I have to bend the line. It will be easy, right? Bend the line, reverse flutter wheel. So this is easy to dance, right? So if you want to work it with body flow, heads, everybody past the ocean. Girls run. Okay, I'm doing it from here now. The girls should be able to do it because we flow them in. Bend the line. Girls lead. Reverse flutter wheel. Girls go into the left hand. I help them through. Pick up the boys. Bring them home. Everybody half sachet. Boys go in front. You're back normal. Very quickly. Another way which we can help is everybody pass the ocean. Please set this up. Single hinge. Now the girls are facing out. Now I'm not sure how comfortable they are with the girls run. In my hometown, they are comfortable with that situation. Girls run. Girls lead, reverse flutter wheel. Girls go into the left. Flow is perfect. Take. Thank you. Okay. These are kind of ways how to help. Everybody have sachet, bring them back to normal. Boys. This is tough, little tough for the dancers, but they don't mind actually because at the end they are normal. So I don't personally, when I call in my class, I want to teach them that the right side dancer goes in front. But when I do it at a special dance or whatever, important is they are normal at the end. How they did it is kind of, okay, piece of cake. Everybody pass through. Wheel and deal, and the centers wheel around. Follow your body and keep going. Boys keep going backwards, and these are kind of ways how we can introduce wheel around other than promenade. An easy way, actually, because the flow helps. Star through. Because if you do it from here, pass through, wheel around, boys going backwards, it's much, much more difficult. They can handle it. Also in my club, not everybody can handle it because I'm not doing it that often. But that's okay. Star through. Left touch a quarter. Okay. Another way of doing wheel around is walk and dodge. Girls go forward, boys go sideways. Wheel around, boys go backwards.
That's nice. Yeah.
This is nice. You can later on using other arrangements to help them through. And also you're ending normal. Right and left through. A Dixie style to an ocean wave, and the boys start swing through. It's actually good flow because the boys can keep going half right, half left. Girls start swing through. Okay, it's not the best timing, but it works because I wanted the boys in the middle. Boys trade just for flowing reasons. Recycle. They can handle it because they will end normal. Even if they mix it up, they will end normal. Kind of ideas.
Yeah, how many call half sashayed recycles from waves like that on a regular basis? How many normally don't? Okay. Here's one. I work veer to the left, 3/4 tag the line, and I'll say, now this is where I like to do boys do this, girls do that, okay? Let's have the boys swing through. Let's have the girls partner trade. Boys recycle and pass through and put centers in. How many work centers in from here? Okay, cast off 3/4. Again, this is not difficult. These are things that they should be able to do or could be able to do, but you got to help them out. All 8 circulate. Boys are going to have to pass through. The girls trade on the end. Okay, hinge. Girls pass the ocean. Boys quarter in. Extend. Hinge. Fan the top. Boys 3/4 and the girls move up. And here's that recycle. Recycle and sweep a quarter more. Again, everything was done half sashayed. Boys do this, girls do that. Randy, would you come up and show us that thing? We want to see that. Your wheel around. That'd be really cool. All right. I was going to. I was.
Head step to the middle, face your partner. Keep in mind these are callers. Pass through. All right, here's where the setup is. Okay, and you can get to this spot anywhere you want to do it. I think I told you the head's half sachet and square through 4 is what I quoted you. But now here's where we do my get out. My get out is heads put centers in between the sides, and that's a helpful word because if the heads don't get in between, you'll have spreads happen. You'll have some doing centers in, some will be doing centers out. So you got to help them. Then you say, hold on to same sex, cast off 3/4, and the center girl wheel the center boy around. Every boy get a hold of a new girl. Every boy wheel a new girl around. Everybody half sachet, and the people on the ends swing. And you're home. Okay.
Very nice. Give him a nice hand. Very nice. Hey, while we got the square here, anyone have any little golden nugget they want to share with the group? We can put it on tape. You get to see it. Anyone? Something you've worked, something you tried that didn't work? Come on up, Butch. Very good.
Well, I like to work a lot of the circulates, and I like to work them from boxes and different things. So I'll do something like this: heads walk into the middle, pass the ocean, extend your tag, hinge a quarter. Now I'll tell the ends. 4 ends circulate for me. Center 4 circulate for me. Okay, 4 boys. You're all facing out. Identify your box. Boys, box circulate. Girls, identify your box. Box circulate. Girls, box circulate. Boys, box circulate. Everybody same sex, identify your same sex box. All same sex circulate. Girl run around a boy. 8 to the middle and back. And you can mix up that stuff. You can make it hard. You can make it easy. You can put 4 boys on one side. Do a pass the ocean. And these 2 couples that are closest to me right here, if I was up there, closest couples trade these 2 right here. Center 4 circulate. End circulate. Now I've put them in lines where I got boys in line, girls in line. Hinge a quarter. Boys, identify your box. Circulate. Now I could say a split circulate, but what I'm doing here is I'm having them identify that they're in a box. I know it's a split circulate, but I want them to see that box. Girls, identify your box. Box circulate. Centers trade. Boys, identify your box. Now careful on this one because this is going to be a wild one. Okay? Because what's going to happen here is I'm going to have 2 boys come around and they're going to share a spot, aren't they?
Oh.
Okay? Or if I don't want to do that, if I'm really smart and I don't want to do that, I could say out-facing boys, trade. Now, out-facing girls, trade. Same sexes, box circulate. Boys, box circulate. Girls trade. Roll. Boys pass through. Boys trade. Roll. And I'll put them back into a double pass-through position. Okay. Center, step to a wave. Swing through. Swing through. Extend your tag. Hinge a quarter. Girl do a U-turn back. Bend the line. Right or left through. And then from there, do whatever I want to do.
Okay, so they're out anyway. Okay, square up.
Swing original partner.
Here's one other thing I do. It's different. It's not difficult. Heads pair off. Touch a quarter. Centers trade. And then I'll work diagonals. Boys on a diagonal circulate. Girls on a diagonal circulate. Boys on a diagonal. See, they can see that. You identify it straight across there. There you go. All right. Boys on a diagonal scoot back. Again, boys, same sexes working together on a diagonal. Girls on a diagonal do a walk and dodge. Okay. Why I did that?
Why did you not say girls diagonal scoot back?
I think I just was mixing it up. I was adding another call.
I thought you were doing good judgment because if you do that with the girls on the diagonal scoot back, they'll do it left-handed.
Randy, come on up if you want to use the mic. When I want it on the mic. You're going to yell at me. Yell on the mic.
The girl on the end run around a girl. If you say now girls diagonally walk and dodge, the success rate is higher than if you say girls on a diagonal scoot back, because they don't quite see that it should be still a right-handed scoot. The two inside girls have their left hand closest to each other, and there's something back in their mind that said, I always use the inside hand. Well, the inside hand to the square is a left for the girls, but the inside hand to their diagonal box is right. So I thought Ken was making a wise choice, saying girls walk and dodge.
I was.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, as if you planned it. And those are kinds of things I'd be really careful on calling. If I said girls diagonal scoot back, there's a risk factor of 50% they're going to break down. You don't want that. Well, again, what Ed Foote said, presentation.
All right. Well, what I found when I've done this, though, to what Randy said was, if I might do 3 or 4 calls with just the boys or just the girls, and I normally have not had a problem when I switch the sexes to start doing the other call, because in some ways they've seen it. And I'm not saying that always works, and I'm not saying it's the right answer. I'm just telling you what works for me when I want to do things like this. I say boys on a diagonal, we'll scoot back by the right. If they get it, unless it just blows up in my face right from the beginning, and that very rarely it happens, but if they do it, the girls or the other sex, eventually after 3 or 4 calls, will pick it up. And then I try to venture out from circulates to scoot backs to walk and dodges, and from there, okay, let's do a recycle. I want to resolve here. Star through. Couple circulate. Once and a half, bend the line, you're home. Alrighty. Any other little nuggets? We got about 2 minutes here. You got one? Come on up. Look at this. This is good stuff. Alrighty.
Bob Gorn from Denver. Want to catch them right up front, or quick opener. Sides face. What do they want to do? All 8 pass through. All 8 do a U-turn back. All 8 star through. All man left.
That's nice, but like you said, what are they going to want to do?
Well, they're going to want to do a grand square, right?
Yeah, but that's where, like Ed was saying. I mean, for dancer success, you're going to have to cue that early, or somebody's going to start backing up. Okay, thank you, Square. Give him a big hand. Very nice. Well, we just wanted to show you a few things, go over some things, maybe stir your mind as far as going home and trying to be a little bit different, okay? It doesn't have to be difficult, but it could be different. I mean, the choreography is never ending. It's never going to, there's always ways to do things more and more. But how about a nice hand for Jeannette? I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Enjoy the rest of the convention. Thank you.